In September 1066, Harold Hardrada had attacked England once again. This was no raid, but rather a full-on invasion. Little did Harold know that this was the beginning of the end, not only for himself, but for the age of Vikings. After Harold Hardrada landed in Yorkshire, Morcow of Northumbria and Edwin of Mercia mustered an army as quickly as possible to fight Harold and his Vikings. In this makeshift army of mostly farmers is where we find our hero. His name is ATHELGARD, also known as ATHELGARD the Tiller. He comes from a long line of humble Mercian farmers. But 2 years ago, tragedy struck his family. ATHELGARD was 16, and it was the summer of 1064. The day was just like any other day. ATHELGARD woke up early to fetch some water at a creek on the outskirts of his village. And that was the moment his life changed forever. He heard a battle horn in the distance and cries of terror. He was struck with fear and froze, hiding, watching his village burn. ATHELGARD waited and waited for what felt like a lifetime until finally there was silence. He finally found the courage to run back to his village, but all that was left was burning rubble and death. ATHELGARD eventually found the remains of his family. His 2 younger brothers and his parents' bodies were huddled together in what used to be his home. They died together. And he wasn't there. ATHELGARD never forgave himself. He buried his family, and soon grief turned into hatred. Every day he prayed to God to give him a chance to redeem himself, a chance to look into the eyes of a Viking and have the courage to fight. The next few years, he spent more time training with the spear than he did tilling the fields. ATHELGARD had no friends. He had no family. They were all taken from him. All he had was his father's spear, shield, and time. He was waiting for retribution. And on the 20th of September, at the age of 18, on the fields of Fulford, he had his opportunity. Edwin of Mercia mustered his fyrds and marched to Fulford near York to face Harold Hardrada. The 2 armies clashed in shield wall formations. ATHELGARD was placed in the back of his unit and could barely see what was going on. He could hear the familiar sounds of swords clashing and men yelling, and that's when it hit him. The same fear that made him froze 2 years ago. His courage was gone. His years of training was for nothing. He was seconds away from dropping everything and running away. But at that exact moment, 2 crazed Vikings pushed through the Mercian spear line and was face to face with ATHELGARD. He was looking into the eyes of a Viking. He could see his village burning again, the lifeless bodies of his family laying helpless. ATHELGARD's fear disappeared. He was full of rage. Eyewitness reports said it was as if fallen soldiers of years past possessed his body and sought revenge on the heathen Vikings. And just like that, he killed 2 Vikings. He returned to the rear of his shield wall and waited for his opportunity. It was many minutes until he was in the fight again. The battle was going poorly for Mercia, and many have died. But yet ATHELGARD stood his ground. His hatred for the Vikings was so strong that he didn't even notice he was facing Harald Hardrada's deadliest warriors, known as the Warlord's Champions. His skills were outmatched, but his pure determination kept him in the fight. As he fought on, the battle looked worse, and the courage of his unit collapsed. The militia's commander gave the order to retreat. ATHELGARD was devastated. As he fell back with his unit, fear and disappointment was creeping back into his mind. But it was at this moment he gave a speech to his fellow militia. I'm not exactly sure what he told them that day. It's rumored that somebody down in the comment section knows exactly what he said. But whatever he did say must have been powerful. It was enough to convince farmers to want to charge back into a losing fight. ATHELGARD and his unit fought so hard, even the Vikings were impressed. There was ATHELGARD, looking face to face with a Viking once again. In a split second, he found himself disarmed. In pure defiance, ATHELGARD closed his fist and swung at the Dane. Seconds later, it was over. The Viking got the best of him. As the sword left his body, ATHELGARD lay dying on the battlefield. It was another end to a life of a soldier. He looked to the sky one last time. A tear fell down his cheek. He died happy, for he saw his ancestors smiling at him. Can you say the same?